Well, again, welcome everybody who has joined this first video teleconference of all the district governors in Florida, all the governors-elect, and their disaster chairs to talk about how we can all be on the same page on the subject of disaster. And first of all, let me say Robin Foley of the E-Club of the Southeast USA and Caribbean is kind of our technical host tonight. We're hosting it. And Governor Eloy, I'm going to turn things over to you for opening remarks after everybody has introduced themselves. So if you could... and I'm going to introduce first my wife, Alicia. She's got her mic muted because we're sitting next to each other and there's feedback. So I'm Will Miller. I'm a past district governor of 6950 and been in the disaster business a long time. Robin Foley. Robin's past president of the E-Club. Eloy.
Okay, well, thank you all. Thank you, Will, for agreeing to host this, and Robin for allowing your club to be the mechanism of hosting this conference. Several months ago, several of the governors in Florida were lamenting about how we needed to improve our district preparedness, response, and recovery as far as any natural disasters, but primarily hurricanes, because that seems to be the one that we always get hit by. So we talked about getting all the governors together, and I think because so many of us doing so many things, it's hard to do that. So I asked Will if he would put something together with the E-Club that would allow us, at least for the initial meeting, to meet this way, do a little brainstorming and try to figure out what we're going to do next. So thank you for getting that. I don't see John Medina yet. John Medina, are you on? From 6940. The reason I bring his name up, John is the governor of the area that got affected the most by the most recent hurricane, and he would send so many emails, and if there was such a thing as governor of the year, I'd nominate John for that because he's done an outstanding job in the recovery efforts for this last hurricane. And more than anything, I want to pick his brain and a lot of the people that from that district that accepted the help from the other districts, as well as those that from all the districts that went up there and participated in the recovery. So I just want to mention that. I know that in my district, I'm not satisfied with the way that my district performed in this last hurricane or the one before that. I know that individual clubs, there's like 5 or 6 clubs that did a really nice job. And we'll talk more about what makes it a good, successful recovery and what doesn't work. We can talk about that later. But there were 5 or 6 clubs that did a really good job on their own. They went out there. They established contacts way ahead of time. I think that's one of the keys, is to have a contact ahead of time. Rather than a lot of times I think we all know that when we go there to the disaster area, we don't have a plan. We don't have anybody contact ahead of time. We become more of the problem than the solution. I think we're all aware of that. So I don't want to belabor that. So I'm very satisfied the way the clubs started, but I'm not so crazy about the way the district responded. And what are we going to do when it's our turn to be the victims? Are we ready? Are we resilient? Are we going to bounce back? Do we have those contacts with other districts that can help us? We're all Rotarians, are always thinking about helping everybody else. But I think learning how to accept the help is something that we need to really get better at, because we're not used to being the ones that receive the help. We're always the ones that give the help. So that's something I want to talk about, and I want to improve. I want to hear the experiences from all these responders and hopefully set up something in the future where we could get together, governors-elect, the district disaster chairs, and come up with some better solutions. So that's all I have to say for now. I want to thank you all for being here tonight, and for Will and past President Foley for Robin Foley for hosting this. So I'm going to go on mute for now and give it back to Governor Will. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, Governor Eloy. Let me go ahead and let all of you finish the introductions, just so that everybody knows. We have 16 participants right now. Avron?
I'll make my introduction very short. Good evening, everybody. I'm the 6980 Disaster Recovery Coordinator. I've been appointed shortly after the last series of hurricanes in the Panhandle, and I'll certainly be doing this for the full year next year and probably beyond that.
Okay. Alan?
Good evening, Will, and thank you. And thank you, Eloy and Governor. My name is Alan Collins. I'm the District Governor-elect for District 6950.
Rich?
Yeah, hi, everybody. Thank you for doing this. We had a lot of experience with Hurricane Irma, especially in the Bonita Springs area where I live. I'm the District Governor-elect from 6960.
Ray?
I'm Ray Williams from 6990, and we've been part of all of this in Southeast Florida as well.
Don?
Hey, I'm Don Horton, and I'm a disaster chair for District 6990, and I live down here in the hurricane-prone Florida Keys.
Phil?
Sorry, Phil Lustig. I'm past district governor from 6930. I'm sitting in for our governor who's traveling tonight. I'm also the vice chairman of the Disaster Network of Assistance Rotarian Action Group, and I've been the disaster chair in our district for longer than I care to remember. And if I told you how long, I'd probably have to kill you all.
Cindy, you want to unmute, introduce yourself there? That's okay. We'll move along. Have names, the rest of your phone numbers, so go ahead and introduce yourselves, the rest of the folks on the conference here.
But let me go ahead and introduce myself. This is Pat Mulvihill. I'm district coordinator for the U.S. and the Caribbean. This has been going on, same as Phil, probably for 9 years now. Been involved as far as in several of these disasters, both here as well as in the Caribbean. I spent a lot of time as far as on the recent with Maria and Irma in Puerto Rico, as well as Irma here, and most recently spent a lot of time with John Medina as far as on the recovery, both the initial as far as back on day one on October 10th and going then all the way through right now. We're in the middle of a whole series of recovery missions with John as far as on the 6940. I'm representing as far as our district governor, Jeanette, who's not able to be with us tonight.
Thank you. One person phoning in here. Anybody not introduced themselves yet? Okay.
Hi, it's Rick Walker. I'm with club at Indian Rocks Beach, Florida, 6950, and I am a coordinator for Pinellas County Emergency Management Division and retired fire chief, 30 years.
Anyone else who has not introduced themselves?
Yes, I'm Ron Jansen. I'm the district governor for District 6980 in the Orlando area. And I'm sorry I'm joining by phone, but I just was introducing and welcoming a group of Rotary Means Business that was meeting tonight. So I'm driving in the car right now.
Okay, that's cool.
My name is Kevin Kitto. I'm from District 6890, and I'm the disaster chair. Have been for about 8 or 9 years. Been to a couple of conferences that Phil's held, a couple in Houston and things like that. So been around a long time for disasters.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'm Cindy Ciosi, District 6980, District Governor-elect.
Okay, let's move on. I had sent out just probably somebody who was on the original mailing list.
Your sound is low, Will. Excuse me, your sound is low, Will.
Is that better? Everybody else hear me okay?
A little better, yeah.
Yes.
All right. I'll project. Okay, let's Governor Eloy had offered a number of objectives that he hoped we could achieve in this group, that you could achieve, and that's first to agree on the mission or missions of a Rotary district in emergency management. Anyone want to speak to that, Governor Eloy?
Yeah, yes, well, thank you. I'd like to hear from the others. And I don't want to get too much involved and sucked into an argument about what's better. I want to hear from a lot, and I don't know if tonight is the best time, because I would like to eventually meet in person and have a better mechanism to talk. I see this tonight as being the opening round of follow-up meetings, presentations, panel discussions, listening to the people that actually went there, that either that were victims or there were responders. Again, and many of you are already in the field of emergency management, and FEMA categorizes as preparedness. Those are the things we do before. Response, which is the things we do depending on the type of disaster, right as it's happening or shortly thereafter, or recovery, which can also be short-term recovery and long-term recovery. So I think we need to prepare for all three phases to the extent that I think that we need to consider first the individual Rotarian, second the family, third the Rotary Club, so that they're prepared ahead of time and that they're resilient after it happens and able to accept help from others. So that's just the beginning of it. And then once that happens and they become really good at that, to be able to go other places and be problem solvers. Now, there's already many existing things and agencies and non-governmental organizations that already do this. The question is, what does a Rotary Club do? What does a Rotary district do? Where do we fit in? There's the Red Cross, there's Salvation Army, there's governmental agencies that already have established mechanisms to respond. There's CERT teams at the local level. And perhaps, so there's many moving parts to this. The question is, how best do we position Rotary clubs and Rotary districts? Where do we fit in? So that's the question that I'm asking. I think I know some of the answers, but maybe I don't. I want to hear from others. So that's all I have to say for now. I just wanted to open up for others, and I'll go on mute for now.
So this is Don. I felt like when it came to the mission, or at least the immediate response, there's nobody knows their local community better or their district better than the local clubs. So I was thinking that we probably would want, as far as our mission, to be something as simple as to participate with all Rotary clubs with immediate needs after any declared emergency, and not just focus on the hurricane, but any declared emergency that may happen. And we certainly have to have that as a set up the hierarchy. But as far as the mission, it's just as simple as to participate with all Rotary clubs with immediate needs after a declared emergency or disaster.
Let me interject there, Pat Mulvihill. The first thing that goes out is the communications after the event occurs. So in the pre-planning, you do have communications. That they can be out anywhere from a day to a month, depending upon as far as the severity. So that one don't know how to approach it, other than working through other organizations that do have communications as far as in the field. Can somebody help me on that one?
Hi, this is Rick Walker. I've been working extensively since Michael, looking at how the communications failures occurred up there, and working with ham radio operators and so forth. And many of our clubs have ham radio operators in their group that could connect our clubs at the very basic level to take care of needs immediately after the storm.
Thank you.
This is Phil. In 2005, at the Zone Institute, a satellite phone network was established in the Caribbean. That was decommissioned probably in 2012 or 13. But as a result of Irma Maria, 70-20 alone, and maybe they'll be joined by 30, is looking at re-establishing some type. In fact, we're supposed to be meeting tomorrow morning. It's been canceled, but re-establishing some type of satellite communication, which does not depend on cell towers that go down or cell towers that run out of power. And then the only issue is charging your local, your handset. And there was some investigation supposed to be done on this. We've been meeting every 2 weeks as the District 70-20, 70-30 Disaster Relief Committee since Irma Maria took place. And as I say, we're supposed to meet tomorrow morning, but Diana White's traveling. I'm traveling tomorrow morning, and Dick McComb is got another meeting, so we're putting that off another week. But having said that, having a deployable satellite type of phone system is really an incredible idea.
Bill, what is the 2019 entry cost into that? I know when we looked at it a couple of years ago, we were up in the $1,000, $1,500 range.
That's why the investigation was taking place. Felix Stubbs and Michael Terrelong from Kingston were looking at this. There's some new technology wherein, and I believe me, this is way above my pay grade, but the new technology allows for, I believe, your current handset to somehow get into the satellite system. I don't know the detail. We were supposed to get a report back on this at the next meeting, which is probably now a week from tomorrow. But I can report back through Will or Eloy, and when I find out what the information is, because that's certainly, if what I heard 2 weeks ago tomorrow is accurate, it might be a really good idea.
It sounds like a tremendous idea if you get in there fairly inexpensive.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets down to 1 or 2 people in the entire district.
Right.
And when you have a district like what John Medina has starting over in Lake City, going across into another time zone as far as over to Mobile Bay, that one could become pretty expensive.
Yeah. Well, that's why 70-20 is very cost conscious, because they've got 10 countries, 24 islands.
Right. Yeah, I've been through them, Phil. There. No, I know the whole drill there.
Yep.
As moderator, let me ask if we can look back at some of the other objectives, big picture. And one of the things, Governor Eloy, that you had sent out was to see if we could have some agreement, either at this meeting or another, on the areas of Rotary focus in the planning phase in emergency planning. And that was, where should Rotary put their focus? Family, Rotary Club, Rotary area, the district, or outside the district, or all of the above. So I'll throw that out as inputs on the second objective, the areas where Rotary should focus in the planning phase.
Well, for what it's worth, I think we need to look at it as two stages. We need to look at the district area, and we also need to look at the local club. Also, I think on agreeing on the area of focus, you would want to know, are you going to agree on the immediate needs or the long-term needs? I personally think that there are a lot of NGOs that can assist in the long term. And I think, as we've seen in several of the hurricanes that we have with Michael, that we had in Salisbury, North Carolina, and as we had in Irma, the immediate needs are something that our Rotary clubs are fairly capable of being able to assist and communicating with each individual club or an assigned chair in the district, the zone, and the mostly affected club is probably the best place for us to focus. But that's just kind of the way I was looking at it.
Yeah, I'd like to make one comment. How many of the districts have a disaster chair? Because I think those people, and I know Don is our disaster chair, have been intimately involved in responding to the things that have been happening. And I would like to get them as a group to get together, because I think they could really address this issue and help us, because they've been so much more involved in it than at least myself, and I think some of my classmates have been involved.
Ray, is that Ray that was talking?
Yes.
Okay. Ray, I couldn't agree with you more than that, because I agree 100%. My district has a new disaster chair, and I take personal responsibility for not having made this move before. We now have Rick Walker, who's an expert. He's dealt with, he's been an emergency manager for many years. The reason I didn't ask him before is because he was a club president. I didn't want to overburden, but that was a mistake on my part. I should have brought him ahead. One of the outcomes that I like from tonight is that all the district emergency chairs, disaster chairs, meet after this, either at a physical location or via Zoom if necessary, because we're all spread out. But I think that's one of the keys here, is to get every district disaster chair on board and talk about what works, what doesn't work, lessons learned. I mean, almost everybody on this call has been through a really bad hurricane. I've been through 3. I've lost my house. I've been a first responder. I've worked at an EOC. I have a pretty good feel for being the victim and the responder in all parts of this. But I want to see, governors don't have the time. I can tell you right now, and I think all the governors on here in the past district governors will tell you, we just don't have time to focus on this issue, because we're focusing on a lot of other stuff. So who better to address this than have a forum with the disaster chairs? What I'd like to see is that happen. Where it happens, do we do it in Jacksonville during our training? Henceforth, maybe have a group that we can meet. That I'd like to see. So I'd like to hear more from you, from all the other governors-elect and governors that are on this conference call. If you think that would be a good idea to have the district disaster chairs meet and to discuss these issues.
I think, Eloy, what you're suggesting is that maybe we have them coming up. Is that what you're talking
about? You cut out a little bit. Could you repeat that?
I'm sorry. I think maybe we ask disaster chairs to come up to Jacksonville when we have our zone meeting and sit down actually face to face and really come up with a comprehensive plan, which I think is a really good idea.
Okay. I think Jacksonville would be the perfect place. Maybe we can suggest it to our zone coordinators and trainers if they could have a room set up for that, and just to have a meeting of the minds there, if the districts will be willing. Do I hear any other governors or governors elect that would like to propose that as a deliverable of this meeting tonight?
I agree.
Cindy,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'm not sure of the schedule and how tight it is up there, so I think it's something we probably have to get on top of. But it would certainly be worthwhile to bring up.
Yep, I agree.
I agree also.
As one of the disaster recovery chairs, I think it would be a great idea.
Okay. Okay, so
Why don't we could we suggest, Eli, one other thing, that we ask each of the districts to identify their disaster recovery chairs and get them together on one of these calls so that they're coordinated and they make sure that they have an agenda that makes it worthwhile to get together in Jacksonville. But I think they probably would like to do it, but I'd like them to decide it.
I agree, and well, that was the purpose. One of the purposes of today's call is to see if there was that willingness to go forth and have the disaster chairs. Some are here, some are not. I would like to get an idea of who's here and who's not. Will, if we could do that, do like a quick roll call, see what districts are here and whether the disaster chairs are. I see a couple of them, and I've heard a couple, but we don't have a. Excuse me. Of the 8 districts in Florida, excuse me, how many are represented here and how many have their disaster chairs here? Can we do a quick roll call starting with 6930 and working our way up?
Yeah, I'm 6930, and I'm the disaster chair as well as being on DNA RAG and past district governor. I'll be in Jacksonville anyway, so
perfect.
No problem.
Perfect. 6940. Panhandle 6940. They're out there
recovering.
Yeah, they're doing the recovery. They don't have time for this.
That's right.
All right, 6950. Myself, Alan Collins, the actual club, and Rick Walker, who's our new disaster chair. We're represented. How about 6960?
Well, I'm here.
Hey, Rich.
And actually, Daryl Keys has been our appointed chair, although I will tell you that during Irma, the Governor Corps served as co-chairs. So all 4 of us were involved in different parts of how we responded and how we got our clubs involved, and worked that way. Can I lighten the load a little bit here? Daryl Keys told me he was working on a disaster plan for 6960. The initial plan is a map of Florida with exit routes. So I thought you'd want to know that.
Okay. But you bring up, Rich, you bring up a great point that, yes, the disaster chairs need to be in the forefront, but this is not something that the governors can just ignore. They have to be part of it too. The governor is elected. It takes more than one person, but that's a great point.
Yeah, in our case, the governor could not do it by herself, and we doled out a lot of work, and we used the clubs that were available in the area that were not hurt and that were capable of coming down and helping. And in our case for Irma, flooding was the major disaster in Bonita Springs. About 450 homes were totally destroyed by the floods. And Rotary down here partnered with Disaster Aid, who came down and gave us instructions on how to do the best job we could do. And so it was a work in progress. It was a learning experience. Some of our people spent time raising money. Some people worked with local NGOs to get food, water, medicine to where it needed to go. and other people work with other groups to find shelter that the Red Cross could not handle. So there's a lot of moving parts in this.
There are a lot of moving parts, and Rotarians have so many skills to offer. Just finding who's available. I mean, my district, it's a gold mine of individuals that are professionals. And by the way, going through a hurricane as a victim, I consider those people experts too.
Yeah, exactly.
So they need to be included. So
yeah.
So that was okay. So 6970, who's here?
Yeah, this is Pat Mulvihill, and as I introduced myself before, I've been in several operations. We've done quite a bit of work jointly as far as with the district governor for the past few years. Very proactive this year with Jeanette. This is the district that has been instrumental as far as with John Medina, District Governor John, in 6940, coordinating a whole series of different events right in the first 2 weeks immediately after. Now, we were not in as first responders. We were assisting first responders, doing meal cooking, as well as then roof tarping, as well as then we had construction teams in from some of our clubs. Basically, as far as these were licensed construction professionals doing chainsaw removal, all properly trained and insured. So, but again, our primary mission was not to be first responders. Now, I have a background. I'm an operations commander many years ago in a special forces unit, in fact, in 2 different special forces groups as a team leader. So I've been around this rodeo here for a long time, and we're also tied in. We were the district that got tied in with Aerobridge many years ago, and we do airlifts. I think Phil is aware of it. Some of it that Phil, you work with Mary Ann Stevenson as far as going over on the Haiti side. Well, we've been working on the Aerobridge as far as out of the airport down in Ocala. Now, my office is, I'm sitting up at the international airport right now up in Jacksonville. I'm out in one of the runways here. So we're tied into a lot of different unique and also having warehousing. And we have set up warehousing as far as over with the airport over in Lake City, over in 6940, in addition to having warehousing interface as far as with an NGO down in Ocala. So this one we're pretty much covered as far as for the state here, out of our airport up here in Jacksonville.
Very good. So you'd be willing to come up to possibly Jacksonville?
I'm already here.
Right. No, I know that, but I mean to the actual conference and be part of that.
No, I'll be at the conference, and if you want to break out, I have a boardroom here. I'm in the shelter facilities at the Jackson International Airport. I have 1/4 of this building. Now we use shelter facilities up in the Panama City Airport for bringing in supplies coming from over in Ocala that we were flying in there.
Oh, perfect. All right. Well, thank you. That sounds awesome. That sounds like a deal. Okay, so 6980, Ron?
I don't know if Ron is still
Oh,
on.
Cindy, I'm sorry.
No, but Ron was listening on his phone in the car, so he may not, whether he's still there or not, but he was there and I'm here. And I've appointed Avron, but he also stepped in. Ron also appointed him. So Ron and Avron's on the phone. He is
I'm on video.
So Cindy and Ron, would you be willing to perhaps consider the zone training as a good forum to invite all the district disaster chairs to meet and brainstorm and come up together with some deliverables? Is that something that your district would be interested in?
I'd be glad to participate. I don't know the dates, but I'd be glad to participate.
It's the end of it's in June, Avron, on the 3rd weekend, I believe. But yes, we'll make sure you get that information. And yes, I am definitely behind it. So
Yes, and I am behind it as well. This is Ron.
All right, very good, Ron. Thank you. Drive safely. I know that this whole thing started between your conversation between you and me and a few others that thought that this would be a good idea. I got to backtrack. 6890. Is anybody here from 6890?
Yeah, it's Kip. How are you?
Oh, Kip. Hey, Kip. How you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. I think it's a fantastic idea. It's absolutely been a focus of our district. There's been lots of conversation. I think, is Kevin on the phone? Kevin Keto is my disaster relief chair. He is amazing, and we are having active meetings to discuss this. So I think having everybody up at Jacksonville is a stupendous idea.
All right, very good. Will, if we could, if that could be the one outcome, if nothing else, that we can agree to from this meeting is that we can contact the zone and see if they can arrange for a meeting room for the disaster chairs, have them meet, have them have an agenda ahead of time that we can work on, and then go from there. And then perhaps invite the governors-elect into the room afterward and follow up on the discussion. That's one outcome that I like to see come out of this today. I'm gonna go on mute and let somebody else do the talking. Will, I know that Ray had a few issues and questions that he wanted to bring up, so I'll back out and go on mute now. Thank you all.
Yes. Ray had some. He to Don to raise those. Is that right, Ray?
Well, I'd like to ask Don to go ahead and comment on that because they were his questions. And I guess the first question I would have for Don is, does he think the Jacksonville retreat would be a great idea because he's our disaster chair? So Don, it's yours.
Yeah, Ray, I think, and I'm sorry, I think that would be a good thing. I think that I know that being a volunteer organization, we're not going to have this in every club, but I really think that it's important that we have our disaster chairs have some experience, EOC experience, emergency management experience, or even if, I don't know how many are even certified in with the program. But I think that's probably important, and I think that there's a lot of programs a lot of areas that these members can be certified. I think that these people that are the current disaster chairs for their local districts should attend, and I certainly would attend. As I had told Ray earlier, I felt like it would be important that would come out of this, not only our objectives, but it would also be important for us to see if we can assign a zone disaster chair, a district disaster chair, and then have a disaster chair that was at the club level. I think that hierarchy, establishing that hierarchy, would then start the beginnings of an incident management plan and emergency response that we would need to have. I think that the mission needs to be very simple, and it needs to be very defined, because we could sure get carried away and grow this into something that's much larger. But if we focus locally and we boil it down to the necessities, I have found in my response to Florence in September, to Michael in October, and what we had to go through down here in Irma, that those immediate needs are what our local clergy need, and the long terms can take place through donations and through NGOs. So that's my 2 cents worth on it. But I look forward to a meeting in Jacksonville, guys.
Don, I'd like to add something to your first additional question about having a zone disaster chair. I talked to Zone 3334 Director David Stovall, and he will certainly entertain that. He's considered it, but he's very interested in what the feedback from this group is, which Eloy and I will provide that to him. I'll be happy to do a summary for Director David. But he is very much open to having such a zone disaster chair. And he and I did not discuss whether that's a zone 33, 34 chair or one for each of those two zones. But anyway, he's very much open to the idea, and he has one or two people he's already had in mind. Some of you may know that person.
Will, if I've had some conversation with David as well. Hold on a second, I got rid of that. From the 30,000-foot view, past director Bob Stewart is trying to engage a lot of directors. We're working on 21A because of what's going on in Venezuela. That's a humanitarian disaster. We're working with past director Dash Pal in Delhi because of what's happened in Nepal. And the interesting thing is the directors haven't seemed that engaged, but the trustees of the foundation have weighed in recently, and they've come up with a new set of guidelines, if you will, that Barry shared with us in January that were startling as far as how the trustees of the foundation are going to approach disasters and disaster recoveries. Because in the past, if it had disaster attached to it, the foundation didn't want to have, I mean, it was, we don't want to hear about it. And there's a 4 bullet point thing that Barry sent out that I could share. If Will, would you mind if I shared that right now?
No, that'd be fine, Phil.
Oh, let me see if I can pull it up.
Go ahead.
I'm looking for it. Hold on.
Okay.
Where the heck is it? I don't know where it is. I had it up on the screen. Hold on, let me go back and find it. Here it is. All right, let me come back over to here. Get rid of that. Pull up share. And it should be. There it is. There it is. I don't know if you all can see this. The folks who are on phones can't, but the first point is that the trustees agree to establish a Rotary Disaster Response Fund as a single support fund to receive contributions through the foundation's normal contribution mechanisms, including district-designated funds for worldwide Rotarian response to disasters. The second point is to agree to transfer the Rotary Disaster Response Fund all remaining monies in the Rotary Pakistan Flood Recovery Fund. That's a fund that hasn't been touched in 10 years. And also the Southern United States Tornado Disaster Recovery Fund, which has been inactive for 4 or 5 years. The 5% assessment, which is normal. Agree to the creation of a new grant type, Rotary Disaster Response Grant, for the distribution of grants up to $25,000, provided that funds are available in the Disaster Response Fund. And finally, request the General Secretary to evaluate the new Disaster Response Fund and recommend continuation or cancellation of the program and report back in 2022. When I saw this, I'm going, what? Because this is so far different than anything. Now, how do I get off this? How do I get off this share thing? Oh, there it is. Stop share. There it is. This is such a departure for RI. Those of you who've been involved with disaster recovery with Rotary International will know this is totally new ground. But as I said, the directors really aren't buying in, but the trustees are. So that's just a heads up, guys and ladies. Sorry, Cindy.
Bill, if I can share, my assessment is that the directors will buy in to the extent that the governors want something to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Support to the governor.
Yeah, we in setting up the the breakout at the, I'm sorry, I'm having a brain cramp. I want to still call it Zone Institute, but at the Zone Leadership Summit, we really had to holler and yell in order to get disaster on the agenda. And it was only the governors, going back to David, who made that happen.
So we need to work on that.
Go ahead, Cindy.
I was going to say, then we need to make sure that we get Zone Summit time. Or try.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Make it happen. Right.
Will, you're on mute. I don't know if you were trying to talk, but you're on mute.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's better. I was going to say, Don and Ray, there were two more questions you wanted to address to the group, in addition to a zone disaster chair, district disaster chair, and a club disaster chair. And one, I personally, you can probably clarify that. Set up a program that will define individual immediate needs. I wasn't sure if I set up a program. Can you clarify that, Don?
Yeah, Don, go ahead.
Well, yeah, I think it's part of it's really part of the original objectives, and in this meeting in Jacksonville, I think that's where that would be hashed out, or at least vetted out, to where we can come up with programmatically how that would work. It's going to have to come down to the club level and then expand from that. And there has to be a point of contact in each one of those instances. So I think that's basically what I was trying to focus on is how we can set this emergency response action plan out, and that would be the second part.
And finally, Don, you had an item on not focusing on long-term recovery. You
That's correct. That's correct.
On that?
Yeah. Well. As I said, there are many other NGOs that are there that are very helpful for the long term. I think that we look at it as if we make our efforts focused on the immediate needs, I think that we would probably do more good than if we try to drag it out to do look at the disaster in the long term. And I think there again we drill it down to the local level. We have the local clubs responding to their district, so we've got disaster chairs dealing with district chairs, dealing with a zone chair, which would then be able to coordinate that whole effort. And we would funnel things into that immediate response that would do much more good than if we try to focus in on the long-term recovery.
I'd just like to comment that I know Don coordinated some efforts on Irma and all in the Keys, which got hit very hard. And the immediate response that we were able to provide, I think, was very, very helpful. So, and actually we had cooperation from many clubs outside of our district that came in to help us with immediate response.
We worked on Irma. We worked tirelessly on Florence when we went up to North Carolina, and I'll tell you, it was the reciprocal response that we got from the North Carolina clubs down to the Keys clubs, from the Keys clubs back up there, that did so much good.
Yeah, Phil, perhaps you can add some additional insight from the top of the mountain and big picture that Rotary, my understanding, has always done long-term recovery. I think we're still in Indonesia after the tsunami, still in Haiti after the earthquake. I think there's some expectation that Rotary will have some long-term recovery function in the Panhandle and other places. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, you're right, Will. As organizationally, we've always said we're not first responders. A priori, that's not true, because if you're trained in CPR and someone drops in front of you, you are a first responder.
Right.
When your street is blocked and you've got a chainsaw and you're cutting up the tree that's blocking the street, you're a first responder. That's not me, by the way, guys. Mine sounds like that, but it wasn't me. We are still, after the earthquake in Haiti in 2010, we're still doing projects in Haiti. After the earthquake in 2015 in Nepal, we are still doing rebuilding of schools in Nepal. And District 7000, again, I know I have the ability to see who's well prepared and who could use a lot more help in preparation. 70-20 ought to be this poster child on how to do it right. I mean, the 2 days before Irma hit, we were on the phone deploying materiel because we knew it was coming. Unfortunately, we were deploying stuff from St. Croix, and when Maria came 10 days later, it hit St. Croix.
Bill, if I could add that the E-Club is already doing work to help rebuild part of the education system in Dominica.
Yeah. Barry just authorized some more DAF funds this week. I haven't got the check yet, but going into 70-30. And the long-term recovery in Puerto Rico is still ongoing, because that place is screwed up as a cheap watch. They make Haiti look functional. God. Yeah. I mean, that's a testament to being really screwed up, but we have to just put that behind ourselves and say, all right, fine. We know that it's screwed up. We're going to fix it. We're not going to fix the fact that screwed up, the part that's screwed up, but we're going to fix what needs to get fixed. We'll work around whatever it is we have to work around. And so, short answer, Will, yes, we are still primarily in the long-term recovery business. I think the directors reacted somewhat strenuously to what the trustees put up in January, and are probably looking at going in a different direction, because there's a territorial issue. We want to have our own DAF for our disasters. You guys can't grab it. So whatever. And I'm glad that's above my pay grade, because I don't want to get involved in that BS. Yeah. But we are in the long-term recovery business, and I think that's where the one thing that I've been getting phone calls from all kinds of different directions. Rich Carson, who was a classmate of mine, 2007-8, is the permanent Rotary International representative at the OAS. And the OAS is really interested in seeing what Rotary can do in Colombia and in Brazil to relieve the humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. And frankly, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. It's so politically charged, but we've got people dying. And the difference there is it's a man-made disaster, but it's a disaster nonetheless.
Yeah. Will, can I real quickly say something? I don't know that we're going to resolve that debate today, tonight. I think that will be a good thing to bring up at the Jacksonville meeting if and when we have it, is what exactly is our niche? What is our role? Short term, long term, etc. Let's not take up the time tonight because we simply won't be able to resolve that debate tonight. So, but what I like to do is everybody ahead of time is to put their thoughts on paper, jot down what they would expect out of that meeting, who should attend, who the actual names of who's going to attend, and another thing I would like to do to consider this committee, this group here, is to do a survey ahead of time that tells us, that gives us some guidance, that gives us some idea of what everybody's thinking, so we can focus immediately upon when we get there at Jacksonville. So if anybody's interested in putting together like a survey monkey, I can do it. I'm an idiot for volunteering for this, but I came up with the idea, so I might as well do it. I keep doing this to myself. But I think if I go to Jacksonville and all the people that go there ahead of time to have some discussion points, so we don't waste a lot of time to get to the nitty gritty right away. So what I'll be doing, putting together a survey monkey for everybody that came to this meeting and others. If anybody has any ideas that they want to send me for constructing some questions, please let me know. I think that, was it Ray, you had some questions before that you want to address, or did Don address those? But regardless, if you have any questions or comments, give me some guidance on how I can do a survey monkey, and I'll send it out ahead of time before the Jacksonville training. Is that okay with you all?
Yeah, good. And Don had the questions, and I think he's asked them tonight. So
okay, very good. Yeah, we're not going to solve anything tonight. Tonight, I see tonight as being a kickoff to something more. We all have families. We all have to go to sleep tonight, and it's way past my bedtime. But so I'm going to go on mute again and turn it over to the moderator.
Okay. Thank you, Governor Eloy, and thank all of you for participating. So that you know, Robin Foley of the E-Club will reduce this recording to a file that he's going to get to me, and then I can send it out to everybody so that all of you will have a copy of what transpired tonight. And then I will take the responsibility for coordinating with Governor Eloy and getting a summary of points to David Stovall, the Zone 3334 Zone Director, if that is agreeable to Governor Eloy. So are there any other final comments that anyone has, particularly germane or something burning you have to share here before we all leave? Hearing not, again, this is the first try to get all these folks together, and I think we accomplished that. And again, thank you all. Thank you, Robin. Thank you, Governor Eloy, and all the people who participated here. And my lovely wife, Alicia, who helped to keep me from going crazy before this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Thank you, Robin. Thank you all. Have a great
guys. Have a great night.
Good evening.
Thank you.